The main thing I do that's unique is now I'm going on 9 years. I've been wandering, migrating with the seasons, and living off-grid in my RV by myself. Let the weather tell me where to go, so when it's hot, I go north or go high in elevation, and when it's cold, I go south.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Laurie.
Kristy Halvorsen is the author of her brand new book called Perfect Unfolding. So great to have you here. Welcome, Kristy.
Great to be here as well. Thank you.
So we always like to start with, we'll talk about your book, but we like to start with what you do, what you love about it, and then we'll move into what your interruption was.
The main thing I do that's unique is now I'm going on 9 years. I've been wandering, migrating with the seasons, and living off-grid in my RV by myself. So I literally let the weather tell me where to go. So when it's hot, I go north or go high in elevation. And when it's cold, I go south. And I meet the most amazing people because I don't enjoy campgrounds. So I'm set up for living off-grid with solar and a bunch of other things. And so I usually live far out in the middle of nowhere in nature, happen upon the most incredible people and the most unbelievable places. And yeah, so that's what I'm up to.
So you like choose a place and then you just stay there for a while?
You know, it doesn't feel like I choose, but I eventually get to places. And sometimes I get to a place, I'm like, nice. And I might stay a few days or one night. And then sometimes I roll up somewhere and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is heaven on earth. And sometimes there's rules, like a lot of national forests, you know, there's the 2-week limit. So after 2 weeks, you have to move on. And then some places don't. I found myself in places where I just, like there was one place where the nearest grocery store was a 4-hour round trip drive. It wasn't that great of a grocery store. It was more like a really high class convenience store. And I'm like, it's not worth the 4 hours or the diesel. So I decided just to stay there as long as I could and survive on what food I had. And I lost a lot of weight and just enjoyed one of the most incredible places I've ever been. But yeah, I do crazy stuff like that too, when I find somewhere really nice.
I love that. And so you just decided one day, or had you been thinking about it for a while?
So I was a firefighter paramedic. That was my main career. I'm in my 3rd career now. You get to retire young. And so I wanted to live in an RV and travel like this when I retired. But then I had some health mishaps happen. And I was in my mid-30s and I was thinking, I don't know if I'll make it to my 50s or will I be in good enough shape to enjoy the outdoors? So it was actually a blessing in disguise. Because of the health issues, I decided, why am I going to wait? And so at 35, I kind of had this dream pop open. And then by 38, I was on the road and living that life.
And so that's what your book is about.
Well, my book is about the most incredible year of the now 9-year journey. So it's a 1-year snapshot. But in the beginning, I do a bunch of flashbacks. So you understand like where I came from and why would anyone go, migrate with the seasons by themselves off grid. So in the first quarter of the book, you get all that backstory. But the book truly is about the most incredible 1 year of the entire journey.
How awesome.
Yeah.
And what inspired you to write it? Like you could have gone with so many different angles. Was it just because it was so incredible? You're like, I have to write about this?
Yeah, I got to December of that year. Like I wasn't thinking I'm going to write a book, but I had been keeping a journal. And that was thanks to a lady I met in Quebec that like heard my philosophies in life and what I'm up to. And she's like, you have to journal, start today. So I did, I listened to her. And then in December, I looked back at the year and was just like, if a novelist went out to write a story like this, I don't think they could have come up with all the crazy, incredible, like life-changing things that happened. And so it was December of that year where I was like, okay, I have to write a book about what just has happened.
Oh my gosh. And I think what's so amazing is our story, or, when people write a book, like some people think, well, it's one story, but I love how you're like, no, it's 100 little stories that we flash back and we do these things. I think it's so incredibly amazing and brave that you just set out to do this on your own. Have you had times when you've been really afraid or worried?
I wouldn't say I've never been afraid or scared. And like, I've never been threatened or anything. especially early on. In the first year, I didn't really know what I liked. Like I imagined living in RV resorts, just like most normal people do. But I was really unhappy. And it took me about, I don't know, almost a year and a half of really feeling lonely and wondering what the heck did I do? Like, I wish I could have got my house back and my job back. I was just like, what did I just do? But I'm glad something inside said, no, I know this is kind of sucks right now, but just keep going. And so I just kept going. And then through the process of like just really figuring out what I enjoy, I just fell into this rhythm, and I went and got my Airstream outfitted with solar panels and a composting toilet and everything you need to survive off grid. And then when I started doing that, I was just like, the angels song, I was like, oh, this is it, but it took trial and error to figure it out.
You're on 9 years, and what's your plan? Are you going to keep doing it, or is this a short-term thing? Well, long 9, but...
Yeah. Well, I've been sharing the same thing. People have been asking me that since like the first time I hit the road. And I keep saying, as long as my soul is tickled to travel, I will travel. And as soon as my soul is tickled to grow roots, I'll grow roots. And my soul is being tickled to grow roots. I'm not fully set on growing the roots yet. In fact, it's where I'm at right now. I'm in New Hampshire on this beautiful property that a friend of mine owns. And we have big plans for what we could do here. And I'm going to continue this year my normal migration patterns, and so I'm here until for another probably 4 or 5 weeks. But I have a feeling when the snow melts in New Hampshire next spring, I might be back and start growing those roots. But you never know.
How did you come up with this title?
It's something I said a lot. I had this big epiphany in 2019. I think it came from spending a lot of time out in nature by myself. A lot of the indigenous people and like sages of the past, you hear about these experiences they have in nature, and I had a lot of those. And in 2019, I really saw that we are truly all in the midst of this beautiful, perfect unfolding of life. If we could zoom out and see all of time from infinity, since the beginning to infinity to the end, we would be like, oh, I see why that happened. I see why that time was so hard. And I get it. And we could see how it fits into this big tapestry. It's not something I hope anyone believes. I'm like, look for yourself, see what your own experience tells you. But for me, it's a deep knowing. So even when life really is hard or awful or just painful, there's a part of me that's like, and this too is the perfect unfolding. And I know somehow it's going to work out, even if I have no idea what that means. It just felt natural that when I realized I needed to write a book, that was going to be the title. Because throughout the book, I feel like there's so many stories in this book, and through each of these stories, it's over and over again, you get to see, and this is part of the perfect unfolding.
You're working too while you're traveling?
Yes, I've been working. I started a mentoring and coaching practice in 2015, and so I hit the road in 17, and in order to hit the road and, still eat and be able to pay bills, I ramped up that practice, and it's been what's been paying the bills. I really enjoy it, and I don't feel like I work. I love talking to people. After the first few years of the business, it started to be just referrals. So I don't have to really get out there and, try to quote, like build a business anymore. I have people come to me from family, friends, or past clients, and then I just get to talk to people, and their lives change and they move on, and someone new comes along, and that's just been how it's going.
I love that. You can do that with having solar panels and everything. You can work.
Yeah. In the book, the book is for anybody. Like if you've read the story Wild by Cheryl Strayed, it's about her hiking on the Pacific Crest Trail. And now that book was loved by people all over the world, most of whom really don't give a care about hiking, And so my book is in the same vein. Like, it's great if you love the outdoors, but you don't have to like camping or outdoors at all, because it's the story. In the book, I give a lot of tips on how can you run a business from the road, and what do you need to do to RV by yourself in the middle of nowhere? So I give all kinds of little tips. And one of them was about cell phone boosters, because Starlink doesn't really work for how I live, because I like living in the forest, and Starlink needs an open sky. So I've survived for 9 years off of 2 cell companies and cell phone boosters, which is a device that takes like a 1 bar signal and can maybe boost it up to 2 or 3 bars. I do speed tests, and I make sure, because I do all my work on Zoom, so I know I know the speeds I need to be able to Zoom. I have a booster on my truck, so when my Airstream doesn't have any service, I drive my truck to the top of a hill or a town and and I find service and work. So I've been doing that and it's worked great.
That is so incredible. Well,
Yeah.
if somebody wants to get your book, where can they get it?
They can go on perfectunfolding.com. If you just Google Perfect Unfolding, you'll find it wherever you're at. It's on Amazon and most of the major booksellers.
Okay. And if they want to work with you and coach with you, how do they get a hold of you?
That's my personal website, which is my name, KristyH.com.
And how do you spell Kristy?
Kristy, and then H for Halvorsen.
Is there any story in there that you want to share with us that would make us want to read the book? I don't want you to be giving it away because I want people to get the book.
Yeah.
But is there a story?
There's so many stories. So I had to count how many people my editor asked that. There's 95 people in the book. And there were so many stories. Like, okay, one really interesting story that most people were like, are you nuts? Is I was sitting out, it was in Newfoundland. I was sitting outside enjoying a cup of tea. The sun rises up there at like 3:30 or something. So it was like 4:15 in the morning. And I'm like on the ocean I'm not on the ocean, on the beach, sipping tea. And then this man's walking by. He's gruff, kind of like, just looks like a gruff guy. And he said, "Good morning, where are you from?" And I said, "Well, I'm from right here at the moment." And he stopped in his tracks and he was carrying this cup of liquid. It looked like apple juice, but later I realized the way he was sipping it, it was not apple juice. So he was out for a morning drink at 4 a.m. and he came by and he was like, "What do you mean?" And we had this beautiful conversation. And then I felt bad for judging him because he just looked like he ended up being a commercial fisherman. I'm like, yeah, the way you look, you fit the bill. But we had the deepest conversation and we chatted for, I don't know, half an hour or so. And then he said, "I'm leaving in a couple hours on a 3-day charter." Not charter like taking people on vacation on fishing, but like deadliest catch, but with fish. And he's like, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Really?" And I'm like, "I don't know this guy. I don't know who these other people are on this boat." And he said, "Hey, come have breakfast with me and my mom." And so I was like, well, that sounds safe. So we walked to his mom's house and we ate like a steak and egg breakfast. And I got to talk to his mom and everything checked out. And so I was like, sure, why not? So I parked my trailer at his mom's house. I went back to the place it was parked and brought it back and then went on this smelly fishing boat. And people hear that and they're like, you're in the middle of Newfoundland by yourself, you know no one, and you just hop on a fishing boat. And I'll let you read the book to find out what happened. But there's that. And there's one more I would love to share. It was in Labrador and realized I never know where I'm going. I just go somewhere and then I hear through the grapevine of a great place to go, or I look at a map, somewhere else catches my fancy and I'll go there. So I truly wander. I don't have a plan. And I ended up on Labrador, which is across from Greenland in Canada, to where the roads ended. And then I hopped on a 3-day ferry, literally a ferry boat that you get on and you're on it for 3 days. It takes you to Inuit settlements way up north in the Labrador Sea. And then once the ferry drops you off the last settlement, I hired an Inuit guide to take me in a 19-foot metal boat with a 50-gallon drum of fuel sitting right behind us. And we went 6 hours in the Labrador Sea in this little metal boat to one of the most historical places in all of Canada, to an Inuit settlement where his parents actually lived when they were young. This place, talk about a heaven on earth. I can see why Inuit people lived there. It provided everything they needed. And they were forcibly relocated in the 50s, which was really sad. But I got to learn their history. I got to meet Inuit people, hear about, William was his name, his parents that grew up living there. And I mean, that was one of the most special experiences of my life. And it was all because, I don't know, I was just drawn to go and met the right people. And again, my friends and family were like, you got on a little metal boat with 50-gallon drum and you and this guy you don't know, and you just took off in the Labrador Sea.
Let me guess, you've been thinking about starting a podcast for what, a year now? Meanwhile, people with half your experience are out there becoming the authority online just because they hit record. And that's why I created Podcraft. It's the membership for women who know they have something worth saying, but want help with the tools, the tech, the strategy, and what actually to say, and maybe even how to say it. You get podcast tools, coaching, twice monthly office hours with me, Laurie Hardie, because it's really not about you being seen, but it's about your story having an impact. Let's just stop overthinking it and start podcasting.
My friends and family were like, you got on a little metal boat with 50-gallon drum and you and this guy you don't know, and you just took off in the Labrador Sea. So anyways, there's two little snapshot stories, and they weren't just good stories. Each one, I saw something deep about life, and I share that with you. So not only do you hear about this incredible adventure, like these two are just a couple of examples, but each adventure, either you just know what it is, or I actually say, and this is what I learned through that experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were so brave and incredible. And I'm visualized myself as a mom going, what? Are you kidding me? But also you were a firefighter. You're well trained. You probably could, take some of these people if you needed to.
Yeah, but my poor mom, it's funny because, I would post on Instagram and Facebook, and, Facebook, I post a little more because I keep it private just for my friends. And I've had several of my friends on posts, that's all they wrote is, your poor mother. And then she would reply back, I know,
Oh my
I can't believe I just have to go and just be like, if she dies doing what she loves,
Yeah.
but my poor mother.
Well, we're talking with Kristy Halvorsen. Her book is called Perfect Unfolding. Kristy, before we go, what is it you want us to know?
Well, I think the biggest thing for all of us to know is that you don't need permission, and you don't need to wait, and you don't need to talk yourself into or out of living the life that calls you. I like to call it that it doesn't just call you, it tickles your soul. Some people will call that like following your heart or going with your gut or your instincts. But whatever you like to call that, we have been taught by society and our teachers, and to no fault of their own, because they were taught the same, that we have to be logical and think things through. And most of the time, our brain is what we let call the shots. But our brain uses imagination to create horrendous possibilities and scare the poop out of us. And then that a lot of times keeps us from doing what our heart really desires. And all I'm saying is, what if you just said thank you to your brain for trying to protect you, but literally listen to your heart, listen to the tickles of your soul, and followed all those nudges. And it doesn't have to be the biggest thing too is you don't have to have the whole plan planned out. You just follow that one tickle and you trust that there'll be another one. And then that just goes on forever and ever and ever. And when you live like that, it's complete freedom. Sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's hard, but it's a peace and understanding, joy and fulfillment that most people have only touched here and there for brief moments. You can live a life like this. Someday is never going to come. You just follow that now.
Wow. That is scary and wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, Laurie.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.